in a bunch. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to RedMenace TV here on Proview Networks. Leroy Lucero along with Michael Carlisle and special guest, Coach Brandon Mason of the University of New Mexico. Part 2?
Part 2. I'm excited about part 2, yeah, for sure.
So part 1, you were here, and then what happened? Where'd you go?
Well, after part 1, since we like to call it part 1, I was able to make a move with Craig Snow to New Mexico Highlands as an assistant coach. I wanted to get that experience on the floor and be able to start recruiting and build those relationships in Chicago, of course, since that's where I'm from. After that, I was there. Then I went to New Mexico State, where Paul Weir and Marvin Menzies took me on as a special assistant to the head coach. So I was still involved with the players and different things, but it was good. That's where I played, and I wanted to go back there and just be a part of that family atmosphere again. And then the move to UNLV with Marvin Menzies was kind of like I didn't see it coming kind of deal. Mm-hmm. It was fun. I'm glad I made that decision. But he called me at midnight one day and was just like, "Hey, are you ready to go?" And I was like, "Where are we going?" He was like, "Pack your stuff. We got a flight at 6 a.m. So I didn't ask any questions. I just got on the plane, went to UNLV. And it was good to get out there and and be able to build some relationships and contacts. Meeting with. It helped because my kids play AAU basketball too as well. So I got to be in those gyms with AAU coaches, high school kids, and different things, and build some relationships. And now it's like part 2, if we want to call it.
Yeah.
We'll call it part 2. I get a chance now to come back home. My wife and kids are so excited to come back home. They're born and raised here in Albuquerque. The red or green question, I'm definitely a green chili guy. But coming home is incredible.
How important was that to you to come back home? You mentioned you played in Cruces, you've coached in both places. How important was it to come back to New Mexico?
It was very important. I didn't see it happening as fast, but any chance you can come back to New Mexico as a whole, and the reason I don't divide Las Cruces and Albuquerque, I was able to win a D-League championship here back in 2006 with Michael Cooper. And one thing I do remember as Lobo fans cheering for me when I scored, you know what I'm saying? They didn't boo me because I played for the Aggies, and I'll never forget that. I was more accepted, just being in New Mexico since 1999. I mean, I'm 36. I spent 18 years in Chicago, 18 here. My ID says New Mexico, so hey, I feel like I'm a New Mexican for sure.
So you have that background of coaching at New Mexico, being at New Mexico State, and then coming to University of New Mexico. Now Coach Weir, obviously as a head coach, it's a little bit different. But I mean, you say, hey, I know where you're at. Don't worry about it. They're going to love you as soon as you start winning some games and all that. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right?
Exactly. I mean, one thing is I would like to say one of the hardest working coaches that I know, and there's no knock on Steve Alford, Craig Snow, or Marvin Menzies, but he is very intelligent and hardworking. And once he starts winning games, people will have short-term memory, and they'll be here cheering for him. They'll be like, he's going to do a heck of a job, and I'm excited to be, right behind him and learning from him and, appreciating the experience.
Can you tell you coached with Coach Weir down at New Mexico State. Could you tell at that point that he was like head coaching material, or where he was going, or
100%, 100%. Actually, I was waiting on his opportunity because I just knew, at the point, he was associate head coach, but Coach Menzies kind of let him run the show a lot, and you know, when he said do something, I did it, and he walked around like a head coach. I mean, he had that aura about himself and the way he operated and did things, and he demanded perfection, you know, and you know, I kind of liked that about him, and I just knew that his opportunity was coming. I knew he was going to kill it too as well, just because he's a perfectionist, and he matches, I don't like to say Steve Alford, but it's kind of similar with the perfection and the demanding and the winning is what he wants to do, and he's going to do it. He's going to get it done.
Was there any hesitation at all when you got the call? Hey, would you be interested in coming to Albuquerque? You know, look, as you talked about how good things were in Vegas. Totally different ball game than Albuquerque, just in terms of city. But was there any hesitation when you got the phone call?
Well, I don't want to say hesitation. I'd like to say at least I felt wanted, because Marvin Menzies, you know, he did come back and say, hey, we do want you to stay. He made a different offer and different things like that to get me to stay. So at that time, it feels good to be wanted, if you understand what I mean. But was there hesitation to come home and be with the Lobos? No, not at all. I mean, it was a no. I like to use the word no-brainer for myself and my family, and the opportunity to come and do something big here, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
So it's interesting. You're with Coach Menzies, and they're basically rebuilding that entire program, you know that, or they were when you first got there. You come here, and there's been, obviously the former staff was let go, except for Coach Harriman, and the majority of players were gone. Now, you weren't part of when they had left, most of those guys, but you're part of now starting to bring in you guys. And what is the change? What do you see the similarities in that?
Well, one thing that I don't want to say I was excited about, but just going through a similar situation at UNLV, because the day that Marvin Menzies left and went to UNLV, I was one of the first ones that went with him the day of. So I kind of saw it from the ground up, if you understand what I mean.
Sure.
So like when you see kind of, I don't want to use the word dysfunction, because when I got here to New Mexico, there was no dysfunction or anything.
Right.
It's Coach Weir already has it rolling, if you know what I mean, and he knows what he wants, and we're headed in the right direction. But at UNLV, it was definitely some dysfunction that Coach Menzies had to get going. So that whole process, being there and understanding how not to rush and just make quick decisions just to fill scholarships. And Coach Weir is already doing that. Everybody's asking us, man, you guys need another big guy. You guys need to, and we're sitting on a scholarship, figuring it out slowly. And that's the process, as opposed to just saying, hey, that guy's 6'10", let's just take him. Like, no, you don't do that.
Right.
So he already has it kind of figured out, so I'm just kind of rolling with him.
So let's talk a little recruiting now. Chicago, you mentioned Chicago. Is that where you're from, obviously? Is that your base area? Is there a base area when it comes to basketball, or is it just nationwide and now worldwide, obviously?
Well, definitely. A lot of my connections are in Chicago, but it's not like going to be a home base, or that's not where we're going to do 95% of recruiting, because with Chris Harriman's experience, Jerome Robinson's experience, we're going to all collaborate. You know what I'm saying? And Coach Weir has just as many contacts as everybody else. So, I mean, we all sit in the war room and we discuss things, and we're going to go out together and put the best roster together possible. So it's definitely going to be not just Canada, not just Australia, not just Chicago, but we're going to try to attack, you know, everywhere. I mean, including Las Vegas, because I do have relationships there, and everybody has their different relationships everywhere.
Are you going to say the best players come from Chicago, though?
I'm not.
Come on, you came from Chicago. You can say it like that.
I'm a Chicago guy, and I mean, you're not going to get that out of me. But I mean, if you look at the last few years, I mean, Tim Williams was an all-league guy. Deshaun Delaney's all-league guy. I mean, there has a Chicago history here. But I mean, if you look at, you know, Australia, I mean, Cameron Barstow and Hugh Greenwood, and I mean, there's always room for a few more of those guys, if you know what I mean. I mean,
but nationwide, Chicago players are known for good ball handling skills and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, they're known for toughness, you know, just being a little more, I don't want to use the word like athletic or bigger or whatever, but I know when I got involved here with high school basketball, I would see like the tallest guy would maybe be like 6'6", 6'7", and somebody would dunk and they were like, man, he just done, like it was a big deal. And then you had Bryce Alford and Cullen Neal who were, you know, rivals. And I mean, high school basketball was rolling, but in Chicago, like I was 6'4", 6'5", and I was the shortest guy in my starting five. You know, and like everybody on the team could dunk. So I mean, it was like it's a difference of level of basketball. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can find that anywhere. This is just not Chicago. So.
One of the things Chicago players are also noted for, though, is their basketball acumen and the smarts on the court. Is that something you can pass along to the players?
Oh, I mean, is it their smarts on the court? Yeah. Well, you know what? One thing I will say is, I don't know if I got my smarts on the court from Chicago. I definitely will, attribute that to Lou Henson. I always tell people that I think I learned more in my freshman year of college basketball under Lou Henson than I did in all 4 years of Chicago basketball. And that's not a knock on, that's not every high school in Chicago or anything like that. That's just, in general, Lou Henson was, a philosopher, a teacher, and I just learned so much from him, and I owe a lot to him.
Coach, you also talked about AAU. Your boys are now playing AAU, correct?
Yes, sir.
What's that like for people that maybe haven't experienced some of the tournaments and some of the things that go on, as far as AAU as a father being part of that, and then also as a coach looking at these players and all these tournaments that go on? What's those weekends like? Well,
I mean, AAU is definitely risen to another level. I mean, it's looked at, you get recruited a lot more, and there's more coaches, there's more involvement, it's a lot bigger brand, for parents. And it's hard for me because, like, I have 3 boys, 10, 8, and 6, and I just don't want to rub them the wrong way or force the basketball on them, or, so I try to be that parent that just sits there, smile, clap, and I would love for other guys to work with my kids as opposed to me hammering them and trying to teach them just because I know. But they get tired of hearing dad, And I think that would be with any parent coaching their kid. It's kind of hard to hear them all day and then say, hey, son, let me teach you how to shoot a jump shot. They're already tuning you out by then. Yeah. So it's better to have somebody that can, that can work with the kid and help them and teach them. It's more fun to them as well.
So you're saying, like, in 9, 10 years, we're not going to see Mace shoes or?
No, trust me, my kids already have their own names, like the 3Ms, and like they're already wired with that.
They're already working it, huh?
Right, they're already working it. Their mind is. That's why if you check my Twitter, you just see videos of like my kids playing ball. And they're pretty high strung on it. So it's pretty good.
Well, now, how do you balance the coach father aspect? From the standpoint, you mentioned how they sometimes tune you out, but like their coach will be telling them things, and you're like, but I told you that months ago. Why didn't you listen to me then?
Well, you know what? One thing that helps is that I'm already prepared for that, because it was the same with my father. My father introduced basketball to me when I was 2, 3 years old, and I used to tune him out all the time. And he told me to this day, he was like, I can't wait for your kids to not listen to you. So, like, I mean, and that's probably with a lot of basketball fathers who, you expect your kids to play basketball, but you don't want to force it on them, and you don't want to overdo it with them. And it's equivalent to swimming too. Like, I've begged my kids to jump in the pool when I'm right there, and they're like, "Nah, I'm good." And then I walk off. Next thing you know, they just jump in the pool with some random dude, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" Like, I take care. You got the Jordans on your feet. I'm taking care. No, but yeah, that's just how it is. At least I'm prepared for it.
Yeah, that's kind of being a dad, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So. Do your schoolwork. They don't listen. They'll listen to somebody else. I get you.
Exactly.
So recruiting. Going back to that once again, you've obviously Las Cruces, Las Vegas, Albuquerque. What do you present to a kid in that's coming to Albuquerque, or that you would want to talk to them about as, say, something different than you would at like Las Cruces or Las Vegas? I mean,
well, one thing is you have to. It's convincing to get them to come to New Mexico, to Albuquerque, to get them to get on that plane and come and take one of those 5 visits. Once you do that, and you convince them to get that 1 through 5 visits, I mean, to be honest, I hate to use the word like it's a piece of cake, but Albuquerque fans in New Mexico. It sells itself. When they get off the plane and they see the facilities and they go eat at the different restaurants and the fans like, oh, that's the recruit, or that's Lobo basketball, or I mean, it makes your job easier. Now, you might not have at UNLV, you might not have the strip, or you might not have different other things. But here, the facilities are top notch. The fans are the best fans in the Southwest by far. I was talking to a recruit the other day, and the first thing I asked him, I said, hey, you know about the Lobos? Tell me something. What do you know? First thing he said was Tony Snell. The second thing he said was the fans, because he's played in the pit before. And he said, I couldn't hear myself think when I was at the free throw line. Now, the fans are known here, and you want to be a part of that. You want to play for fans that are going to be there and cheer for you. And I mean, I remember myself playing against the Lobos and actually missing layups in the warm-ups because I was that nervous. So I mean, it sells itself, if you know what I mean.
Nice. And then once again, talk about Coach Weir a little bit. People have gotten a little look at him, but the offense that he's looking to run and the defense, it seems like it's just going to be running, and attack. Well,
for sure. I mean, you hear the word running, but at the end of the day, it's going to be more of playing hard. Mm-hmm. You know, understand what I'm saying? So you're going to play hard, you're going to play fast, and it's not going to be reckless. It's just going to be whoever's playing the hardest is going to be out there. And it's going to start on the defensive end. And, I mean, he's going to stress that, as you can see from his team from last year. And I would like to say that team he had at New Mexico State was less talented than the one that we had in New Mexico State. We had a first-round NBA draft pick. And the teams were night and day. They lost the NBA draft pick first round, Pascal Siakam, and the team got better. So, I mean, that's what he got out of the kids. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, he pulls that out of his staff. He pulls that out of his players, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Coach, we look forward to seeing this season as it continues to develop. Obviously, recruiting, you said you have one scholarship left, but you're kind of holding on to it. It's got to be the right choice, right?
Be the right choice.
We're just not going to pick some dude. Maybe hey, that dude's 6'10". He runs like, we'll use a sundial to time him, but get him in here. He's 6'10", he's 7 foot. Let's get him in, or anything else. It's going to be the right choice.
Right choice.
Maybe even if that choice is just to sit for a year and mm-hmm. maybe even hold on to that scholarship. Is that a possibility at all? Or
yeah, for sure. For sure. You never know. I mean, you might get a transfer or something halfway in December, or you could sit on it and use another scholarship for 2018, or you just find somebody here in the next couple of days. I mean, we do have a board full mm-hmm. of guys, and you just want to make the best decision possible.
One last question before we go. Transferring. It's become crazy, has it not?
It has. I think, kids today, they're just trying to find that next best opportunity to position themselves to become a pro. Also, a lot of the kids have relationships with these coaches, and there's so many coaching changes that kids are moving because who you have that relationship with is very important. And that relationship on the staff is just as important as who you're playing for, what you're playing for, the whole deal. So, I mean, that's why a lot of recruiting is about relationships.
And we're not talking just head coaches, we're talking assistant coaches
of course.
As well.
Correct? Of course. It starts with an assistant coach, but the head coach normally finishes that off. Like, I mean, I can recruit a kid or send a text message or whatever, but nothing counts until they hear from the head coach. And that's one thing that Coach Weir does a great job of, reaching out to, parents and players and, the whole deal. So he gets it. So, I mean, it makes our job a lot easier.
When's your next open recruiting season that you're flying around?
I think it's September, maybe 9th in that area. So like the first week.
For a couple of...
No, there is no relax. I wish I could say, yeah, we're going to relax. No, not at all. We have nothing to relax about.
And are you able to work out now with the players one-on-one?
Well, they're not here right now.
They're not here.
We have a few guys here, but they all went home to see their families and things like that. So once they get back, we'll start rolling here in late August when school starts.
Awesome. Coach Brandon Mason, you're going to catch him there on the sidelines along with Coach Weir. Get some tickets. Go out. I mean, it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be the most exciting basketball we've seen in a long time here at UNM. That's just Lobo fans, longtime Lobo fans that have lived here for decades like myself, we remember Norm Ellenberger, and I remember Coach Weir speaking about that when he was hired, and he talked about, we're going to run, we're going to do this. I think Lobo fans have been looking for this for about a good 40, 50 years now. I think it's that's awesome to bring back. So, Coach, thanks for being part of the show.
Thanks for
we'll
having me.
See you as the season rolls on.
Yes,
we'll
sir.
be back right after this on RedMenace TV.
He got away with one nonetheless. He definitely created some contact.
Here we go, 2-1 game on. Sam Gleedle's gonna finish it. Check the replay and show you how it happened in just a moment. Here's Luke Lawrence.
Very nice PK.
So it's going to be Jack Plants is going to take this. Doniciano's there too, but I don't think this is going to be a left-footed take. Clancy, yes! Jack Clancy.
Hey, I said it earlier in the broadcast, Adam. He loves to.
This is dangerous as Gleedle will leave it off. Pacheco, does he want to have one? A cutback. Pacheco's in trouble now as he tries to switch it. And here's a 1-2, and again it's Gleedle. Gleedle's going to try to bend one. Yes! How about it from Sam Gleedle? It's gorgeous on the inside of the foot. And he...
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real.
All day with you two, jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico High School athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. So maintaining this old car is your best option. Keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Visit the Frontier Restaurant. Due to heavy construction on Central, take lead or coal coming north or south. The Frontier Restaurant. Get your Frontier fix on. Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's off Academy and in Nob Hill.
RedMenace TV here on Proview Network. I want to thank Coach Brandon Mason.
Yeah.
It's awesome, always awesome talking to that guy. He's highly energetic, and I think he's a representative or represents what this Lobo basketball team is going to bring. I keep saying it. I know, there was a lot of turnover as far as players. I know that obviously we turned over the entire staff, but there is something different about this team now, this program. And he can't say it because he's a coach, and I understand the coach. I'll say it. The cancers have been removed. I'm just going to say it. The cancer's been removed. This team is going to be highly energetic. There's something different that's been missing for the past 3 to 5 years. That's here now, and I'm just excited for the basketball season.
For sure, and you mentioned the energy that he brings, and that's something didn't get a chance to bring up with him, but I remember when he was on staff here before, when the players would all come down the ramp for warm-ups, and he would come down and would literally go down the press row there, and from the PA announcer to the radio crew to the shot clock operator to the scoreboard operator, just come down and fist bump everybody.
Yeah.
But brought a lot of energy, and I think kind of when there would be those times when maybe the players, the energy wasn't quite there during warm-ups and shoot-around and all that, would kind of get them going a bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a whole excitement level, I think, that's going on. I think fans should probably start looking at some tickets. I think the Mountain West Conference can be taken by the Lobos this year, to be honest with you. I know there's some people that'll disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I don't care. They disagreed with me the past 4 years when I was 3 years when I told them it was junk, but that's fine. I don't care. I'll just say the way I feel, and I feel this team can win the Mountain West Conference. I don't think it's that great of a conference, and I think they're playing with a whole different dynamic, a whole new level of excitement that's going to be different. Speaking of excitement and dynamics, I did get a chance to go out to Lobo football practice. Granted, they weren't in pads, which was kind of a drag because you didn't get to see, but even in pads, they're not hitting anymore.
Right.
They don't want to hurt anybody. They know these guys can hit. They know what's up with that. Obviously, they had a scrimmage over the weekend that was closed to the public and to the media. They were hitting then, and Bob Davey kind of mentioned that. He said, we have everything scripted right now. Even though we put shells on, we don't really, go 100%, and it's all scripted. Now in scrimmage, we're just going to go, but we don't, we want to see, and that's how we look at things. But I did see just some opinions. Obviously, having Delane Hart back is huge. I mean, that's huge for this team. Emmanuel Harris is another young wide receiver that I think is going to provide some excitement. And there was an article in the paper on him on Tuesday morning. Wednesday morning. Aaron Molina back from Valley High School. That young man fights for the ball. He picked up some skills in junior college that I think gives some exciting weapons for the Lobo quarterbacks. With that being said, Michael Carlisle, what would be the first question that, I'm sure you've already had this question asked, hearing about wide receivers. What would be the first question that everyone asks?
Nobody asks that question anymore.
They don't ask that question anymore.
You know what you're going to get from the Lobo offense, and that's not a bad thing. The bigger question is, how does the defensive side of the ball, replace the Dakota Cox, Nick Diavanzo, and guys like that? And my response to that is, I think the defense probably has more talent on that side of the ball this year than they've had since Bob Davies been there. Will that necessarily translate to bigger plays and better defense? We'll have to see how guys step up and get acclimated. But I think the defense has the potential to be really good. And like I said, offensively, we know what the Lobos are going to do, and they're going to do it really well. So I don't think people are all that concerned about the offense.
Bingo and bingo. The defense is a lot better, I think. They seem to swarm a lot. We have a big defensive line nowadays, which obviously I can't remember up and down, and not just the starters, but first team, second team, even guys on the scout team with this kind of size and speed. I do know that Rocky, there was a couple of years where he had like a starting four that was pretty large and could move and were powerful. But then there was a drop-off.
Sure.
I don't think you're seeing that drop-off anymore. I really think Coach Davey and the defensive staff have really worked hard at getting that. But what I was the most impressed with while I was out there was the defensive backs. I can't remember a time that I've ever said that at UNM. Sure. It's been a long time. Maybe Franchione and Long's early years, we had some pretty good defensive backs. But as a group, safeties, cornerbacks, they look like they're in position. They look the part of D1 football players. They look like the ability. They make plays. They swarm. They attack. And they seem to be in the right positions. That was probably the most exciting. But back to the offense. I have heard a few people once again talk about throwing the ball online. I think they need to relax. We already know we have an exciting offense with the running game, and we're not going to throw that much. It's just the way it is.
No, you're not going to see that much of an increase in passes. What you may very well see is more efficiency in the passing game, which is, of course, always a good thing. It also makes the run game even more dangerous.
Absolutely. And I talked to Lamar Jordan. We talked a little bit about that sort of stuff. This is now his team, first time in his whole career here at UNM, that he doesn't have to look behind his back or he's fighting for the spot. He still considers the guys competition, but he doesn't consider them like taking his job like they did. Like there was a change last year with Apodaca, and then early on with BR and some of the other guys. I talked to Lamar Jordan. Let's go ahead and run that interview and let the fans hear what Lamar Jordan has to say about Lobo football this year.
All right, Lamar, your last fall, practice as a Lobo. How much has changed in the time that you've been here?
That changed a lot. Just off of the competition level between everybody, offense, defense, as well as, just the kind of athletes that's out here. I mean, there was always some good athletes when I came in, but it's like now, as I'm a senior, it's like everybody can play, regardless of who's, the 1, 2, or 3. So, I mean, the competitiveness and just, the nature of just loving the game of football and competing has definitely changed drastically from my years being here.
Every year it seemed like you were always in competition for the starting job, and you always seem to come out on top there. I mean, obviously that's through hard work and dedication. This year, maybe it's your team?
I definitely went into every season thinking it was my team. That's just how I compete and how I look at things. As well as, this year I'm in just because off the simple fact that no one's behind me, that, has played significant amounts. I still look at Tavaka and Colton as competition. I still feel like I have to outplay them, outdo them in practice. So, however, I can just keep leveling up my game, I'm going to continue to do it.
You're one of the few Lobo quarterbacks that can say, I want a bowl game. What's that like being in that rarefied air with some of the few other guys that are out there?
It's definitely a blessing, just to see all the hard work, all the blood, sweat, tears you put into this game, just off the simple fact that, God placed me as to be a quarterback in the D1 college football level. I just really, thank God for that situation. I thank God that I was able to play in a bowl game, because a lot of people can't say that. So, like I said, I just got to give all my shout out to God right there.
So now you look at it, your senior year, I mean, you got some younger guys underneath you. Do you go into like mentor mode here? I mean, not just as a leader, but I mean, are you mentoring these guys as well?
I mean, definitely I see myself as a mentor. I mean, mostly I'm around, Tavaka a lot because, we kind of like chill with each other kind of on and off the field. So I see myself kind of, helping him out more. But I'm also trying to help out everybody. Bryson, a true freshman, helping him out, as well as Colton, as a newcomer. I'm just trying to, spread my knowledge because I know in the future, this program's going to be good in the hands of those three quarterbacks.
Every year it seems like they constantly ask you about passing the ball. This year, I'm not even going to ask you that because you're a monster whether you're throwing the ball or whether running the ball. I mean, what do you think about this offense and what basically it's your offense?
I think, this offense could be number one in the country. You just look at what we do on the ground, and then you look at our receiving group. If I could just get those guys the ball, get the ball in their hands somehow, those are dangerous guys in that group. So I look at our receiving group and our running back group as well as, our whole line and how they work. I just feel like we could be the number one offense in the country if we work hard and just keep our head down and keep grinding.
What are your personal and what are the team goals this year?
I don't really have too many personal goals. I have a lot of team goals. Of course, we want to go undefeated. That's been the talk around the whole program, as well as win the Mountain West Championship outright. I mean, it'd be great to, have a Mountain West Championship game in Albuquerque. So, that's definitely, one of our goals here, as well as just going undefeated, showing everybody in the country that we can compete with whoever.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
You fall down at the end there? What was that?
No, I just, it's speaking the same thing. But, I mean, let's face it, we had the helicopters coming in, the guys in the little black helicopters and jumpsuits. I was a little afraid. I thought maybe it was the Aggies coming and trying to, disrupt things and just kind of see what the Lobos are doing. They shouldn't have come that day. Maybe they should have come for the closed practice day.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're running those, what are those things called? With the cameras on them?
Drones?
Drones, yeah. Maybe they send a drone here or there. That would be interesting. Remember, coaches always freaked out about that stuff.
They were going to send drones. They could send a lot smaller, quieter ones than that.
Smaller, quieter ones. Very good. Hey, I'll tell you what. That was Lamar Jordan, as you can hear. There's some excitement there, but he's a seasoned veteran now, is what he is.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, we spoke about this last year. Austin Apodaca, as far as throwing the ball, may have been the more talented quarterback. In fact, he's in the CFL still, right? I mean, is he still with his team? I mean, obviously he's a professional football player. He's a good player. But this team reacts to Lamar Jordan. I mean, they're his team. I mean, this offense is built perfectly for him. He runs it almost to perfection, and they win when he's leading this team.
We talk a lot about, in a perfect world, you redshirt a guy their first year and all, let them get acclimated to the college game, build up some muscle and learn the playbook and all that. Lamar wasn't afforded that luxury. He played right away.
Yeah.
When he got here, the plus side to that is he is more than prepared now going into his senior year to lead this team. And I think you have, if you've been out to practice, you see a difference in him. Again, not to go back to the P word, but you see his passes look a little better now. And again, look, this isn't going to be a throwing team, but if you can be more efficient in the pass game, it certainly opens up things more and has to keep defenses honest. But you can just tell his 4 years here, he's learned so much and matured so much that everything he's gone through up to this point has prepared him for now.
Well, I mean, you have to ask yourself, what's more crazier, throwing the ball forward or sitting there trying to figure out which running back you're going to give the ball to at what point, or do you just tuck it and run yourself?
Right.
And I mean, he has that down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was obvious last year. Even coming off when he came off the bench when Apodaca started, I mean, he just, bam, let's go. We're not even going to mess around. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're good at, and that's the way it works. But anyway, I'll tell you what, when we take a quick break, we'll come back with Cage Minds and Micah Frankel.
Yep.
And let's see what he has to talk about as far as combat sports this week. We'll be back right after this on RedMenace TV.
We try to let all of our interns do everything here at Proview Sports Network. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out. Hey everybody, welcome to the Proview Rundown. I'm Adam Deal. What a big week in football. Week 3, as you all know.
Cut.
Come on! on! This eagle. Jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Altitude Sports Grill is where Albuquerque's sports fans won't miss a game. With locally crafted brews on tap and refreshingly crisp cocktails. Located in Hotel Cascada, Albuquerque residents find a staycation worth staying for. Catching Lobo sports, enjoying a beer on the beach, or wiping out, Hotel Cascada is home to your urban adventure. Affordable guest rooms, no-hassle water park parties, and much more.
Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Hey Lobo fans, I'm Sarah. And I'm Samantha. Jaguar Land Rover Albuquerque has been a family-owned business since 1988. The 2017 Jaguar F-Pace has been named the winner of the 2017 World Car of the Year and World Car Design of the Year. Land Rover's signature terrain response system is flawless against any curveball New Mexico weather can throw at you. We have a class-leading extended warranty on all Jags and Land Rovers and one of the greatest pre-owned inventories in the state of New Mexico. Call 505-797-3600 to schedule a test drive.
I am never getting married. Never. Guaranteed. You picked a beautiful ring.
Thank you. We're never having kids.
I love it here.
We are never moving to the suburbs. We are never getting one of those. We're never having another kid.
I'm pregnant.
I'm never letting go.
For all the nevers in life, talk to State Farm agent Michelle Rudolph or Marty Size in Albuquerque.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network, locally owned and operated.
What do these interns even do on their break, man?
I don't even know. It's probably way too crazy.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Welcome to the place where we talk about people getting punched in the face. This is Caged Minds. I'm Micah Frankel, and this week joining me is Jordan Espinosa of Latrell Yee MMA. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I like doing this stuff.
So this week, we did have some UFC action we'll talk about real quick. The UFC was in Mexico City. Start off up at the top, main event, your weight class, flyweights. Sergio Pettis got taken to the ground, a bad first round, and then his technical striking performance was able to prevail in the next 4 rounds, gets a unanimous decision winning. And I heard, haven't looked at the rankings, but I heard he got a giant bump up. What did you see as a fighter in that main event?
It pretty much went how I expected. I thought Brandon would probably, if he could get it to the ground, have a good first round and control him. But as long as he didn't get Sergio didn't get submitted, that his striking would take over, and that's what happened the next 4 rounds. So.
As a student of the game, what do you think of Sergio Pettis? And I'm sure, like me, you've seen him on the scene with RFA and stuff for quite a while, so we've seen some of his performances. What do you think of him?
He's good. I used to be kind of a hater back when he first got signed, just because I was like, he has a padded record, hasn't beaten anybody. But no, he's definitely, in the past 3 or 4 years since he's been in the UFC, grown as a fighter. Has looked phenomenal in his fights against like John Moraga. He just looked really good, and I was really disappointed when his fight with Henry Cejudo got cut, just because I thought that would have been a really good fight. I think it's a bad matchup for him. I thought Henry would take him down and just probably lay on him. But if he could beat Henry, that would have been a huge eye-opener for everyone in the division and in the world, I think.
I think depending on how really Borg versus DJ goes is what is served for what happens next. For Pettis, Pettis will be wondering, do I get the winner of that fight? Do I get the winner of possibly Cejudo versus Hess happening? Very interesting stuff there in your division, the flyweight division. We also saw a co-main event in the women's strawweight division. Alexa Grasso, I thought, won the first and third rounds and gets the unanimous decision. Randa Marcos, an excellent second round, but couldn't finish the fight. Had a takedown third. Wasn't able to really put together much offense when they were on the ground. And I think getting her eye busted open really at the end of that third solidified the victory for Grasso, with damage being such a big factor. Same thoughts about the co-main event?
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you. I think it's funny that Randa Marcos is appealing the decision because I saw what you saw. First round, she lost the fairly technical round. Second round, she dominated. Some may argue it was a 10-8. I don't really see it that way. The third round, I really thought Alexa kind of dug deep and took that round for herself. And I think the judges got it right. I don't remember if it was a split decision or unanimous, but I think they got it right.
I know it was 29-28 across all 3 cards. I can't remember if it was split or unanimous at the moment because I'm not looking at my results, but you can find those at cagedminds.com. Now, another flyweight bout really had your attention. It was on the Fight Pass prelims, and it was the featured Fight Pass prelim. It had Joseph Morales, who you were supposed to fight at GKO, I believe. For a title. And he was able to take out LFA champion Roberto Sanchez, somebody who actually beat a teammate of yours. So how much were your eyes glued to the screen for that one in particular?
I paid a lot of attention to that fight. In fact, the day of the fight, or maybe the day before, I posted on social media that and tagged Joseph in it, that if he won that, I told him to win that fight and I'll win my Contender Series fight in a couple weeks, and then we'll get to run back with the fight we were supposed to have. And he liked it, and I mean, he kept up his end, so I got to keep up mine. I thought that fight kind of went how I expected it too. Roberto Sanchez is kind of his striking's pretty terrible in my opinion. He's kind of sloppy. He did beat my teammate Jerome Rivera, but I feel like 9 times out of 10 Jerome beats him, and that was the one time that Jerome lost to him. So yeah, Joseph looked good during that fight. He actually got in some trouble too, I think. He got taken down right away in the first round. I still think I could beat both of those guys, but I got to get my way there. Once I win this Contender Series fight, I'm going to, during the interview I have with Laura Senko, I'm going to make Maynard and Dana White's job easier and book me that fight for November in Australia.
So Jordan's already brought it up. If you guys haven't heard, we've talked about it before already. We had Joby Sanchez on. We have another fighter here with us. Jordan's going to be in action next Tuesday night. August 22nd, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, and it's a rematch. It's a rematch of Jackson's MMA Series 17 main event, going to be taking on Nick Urso. The first fight ended in a no contest in the second round due to blows being landed to the back of Jordan's head and Jordan unable to continue after the doctor checked him out. We now have a rematch, which I'm a little sour I don't get to be ringside because I really want to see the conclusion of this great drama. It's great that it's at least on Fight Pass, so we all get to see it, and can't be happier for the two of you guys to get this opportunity. So first off, let's talk about that. They get in contact with you to get this offer. What's the reaction?
I was super, super excited. My manager called me and he's like, I was already going to take a fight, an ill-advised fight from my coaches. And my manager calls me and he's like, all right, screw that fight. I got something better. How does the Contender Series sound? And I was like, sweet, sounds awesome. Who's the opponent? And they're like, Nick. And then I was just like pacing back and forth with the excitement for the rest of the day. I'm super excited about this fight. This is the hardest I've ever worked for a fight. The best condition I've ever been in, best technically I've looked in the gym. I'm ready to prove a point.
Now let's go back. Let our audience get to know you a little bit. Now, I heard high school wrestling, Damasio Page. What led you, how'd you get into mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I wrestled all 4 years at West Mesa High School. I won state my sophomore year, took third my junior year, and second my senior year. During that time, Damasio Page and Lenny Lovato Jr. were both my assistant wrestling coaches. I was really close with them back then, and after I graduated high school, I wasn't doing anything competitively, really, except for coaching. And yeah, I showed up to Albuquerque kickboxing one day in late 2008. Learned how to throw a jab, started sparring, and then next thing you know, I'm having my first fight like 5 months later, and the rest is history.
5 months later, what was that first fight?
The first fight was, it was the event with Lenny Lovato versus Nate Moore. I forget the name of the event, but it was at the Albuquerque Convention Center. And my opponent was Vince Roebuck. And yeah, I won for my first like 5 amateur fights, I just threw an overhand right. I was still a wrestler. I threw an overhand right to a double leg, was scared to strike, and took his back and got rear naked choke.
Can you remember what those nerves were like?
Oh yeah, those were, I had similar nerves for half of my amateur career. Now I'm a lot more composed and able to control it, but that just takes experience. But I was freaking out in the back, so.
How do you stay composed then and stay calm throughout these processes? You've obviously had experience now more than 20 times.
This will be my 26th fight, which kind of blows my mind. I feel like I'm still young, but I'm now kind of a veteran of the game. But every fight's a process. I think I've heard Donald Cerrone seen this video of him talk about like how each fight it's kind of crazy, and you have people telling you the same stuff, and like you got to find it in yourself to keep it together. And he's exactly right. Every fight's different, every opponent's different, and it's a new challenge to overcome.
But this one, the opponent's not different. You've had the opponent before. So how is this fight different, and how much have you actually looked back at the first one, talking about similarities?
To me, this fight's completely different. To the outside world and from a third-person perspective, you only see what you saw in the fight, right? I know how I felt from a first-person perspective. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. It was definitely not it was not indicative of half of my skill level, I feel. And so I've done all the right things this time. I've prepared mentally, I prepared physically, and Nick says in our promo that I gave it my all in the first fight and it wasn't enough. Well, I'm kind of glad he thinks that, because I don't even feel like I gave it 10% of what my all really is. And so I'm looking forward to be able to showcase 100% of what I got, and what better stage to do it on than Fight Pass and in front of Dana White.
Do you feel you've grown? And I believe you've had 3 fights or something since that one?
I've had 4 fights since, and I'm 3-1 since. He's 2-1 since. He's actually turned into a wrestler, which is kind of funny. Most of my last fights have actually, for the majority, have been standing. So it's interesting. I feel like I'm a completely different fighter than what I was over a year and a half ago when we first fought. I feel like he's probably a different fighter too, but I believe I have where I gained and where my strengths gained, he won't be able to overcome.
And last thing real quick, how much is Dana White in the perspective of yourself? You got to think about, you have to impress him, but you want to get that victory. It's an odd situation going into this Contender Series because the win matters, but we've seen from the results, to get that contract, you got to be spectacular.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to go out there looking for a finish, 100%. I do, first and foremost, want the win, but I'm not just trying to get a lay and pray victory, and I want to be impressive, especially in the past few weeks from these flyweights, except for last night. None of the flyweights have looked that impressive. None of them have gotten finishes except for Alex Perez, and that's one more notch on my belt and something I can use to my advantage if I go out there and have an incredible performance at flyweight and stay undefeated as a flyweight, because all of my losses have only been at bantamweight, so I can use that as leverage.
Dana White Contenders Series, August 26th edition. I believe that's going to be August 22nd. It's going to be week 7's edition. Tune in to see Nick Urso, Jordan Espinosa. I guess take 2, we'll call this the rematch. There'll be more Red Menace TV in just a moment.
Hoops New Mexico Basketball Courts is coming to Albuquerque soon. 10 full basketball courts and a whole lot more. For more information, contact Dan Serrano at hoopsnm@aybl.com.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back to the end of Red Menace TV. We're right up against it. A lot of good stuff today.
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Michael Carlisle, a couple of guests, and we had an interview, and obviously fall sports are getting ready to step back in. You've got Yaffle football coming up here on Proview Networks. We got high school football coming up on Proview Networks. College football starting. You're going to be involved, obviously, with UNM football on the radio, 770 KOB once again. And what's the FM feed?
94.5.
94.5.
Yep.
So you can catch well, you don't even speak during that time, do you?
Not if I don't have to, no.
Yeah. How come? I guess they don't pay you for the word. They just pay you for your time.
I'm very expensive.
And then, of course, you can always catch Michael Carlisle on 610, the Sports Animal, Monday through Fridays from
3 to 7.
Along with Mike Trujillo and Mike Vitale. Yep. The 3 Mikes, 3M guys that are going at it all the time. You got your baseball. The Cubs are tearing it up. The Brewers. How does Mike Vitale like the Brewers? I don't know. And then you got Trujillo loving the Dodger blue, which I understand. When are you going to cut Mike's hair? At the party. Friday. We should mention the party real quick. We only have a few seconds. Tell them.
Yeah, Sports Animals 23rd birthday bash Friday, starting at 3 out at Hooters on San Mateo. We're going to have a lot of guests, a lot of fun, a lot of prizes, a lot of free stuff. So come on out.
Do I get to win some of that free stuff? I'm not an official employee.
True. We'll see.
I'd like to win some WWE tickets. Those aren't out yet, are they? Anyways, sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about DWO. I know you went out to True Grit, correct?
Yep.
This Saturday, I missed it. I heard that there was a great lumberjack match.
New Mexico Lumberyard match, yeah. Phenomenal.
So don't forget to catch DWO TV. They're obviously here, I believe, every Monday night.
Yep, every
Monday.
Monday.
On Proview Networks as well as on YouTube. You can catch them on the Proview Network channel as well there. So you can catch this show there as well as all the other stuff that's going on here at Proview Network, which is quite a bit, so that's pretty exciting. I guess we're up against it, so I want to thank everyone, all the guests that we had come in, especially Coach Mason. I know he's a busy man because he's on vacation right now is what he said, right?
He just got hired.
You got to love that. You just got hired.
That's the kind of job
he ain't
I
on vacation, though. He's working hard along with his Lobo football basketball team. And don't forget, Lobo football, you can go catch all their practices, unless Bob Davey closes it, and then he lets you know. Hey, we'll see you next week. We'll do a lot more of this stuff. This is RedMenace TV for Michael Carlisle. I'm Leroy Lucero. God bless you all.